In today's lesson, we're going to continue talking about Delphi and databases, especially with regard to linked tables. And this is from the grade 12 CAPS IT syllabus. Now, in this lesson, we're going to be looking at deleting a record and what is involved in deleting a record. And if you remember, we are dealing with multiple tables. We're dealing with a parent table and a child table, which are obviously connected. Now, in this scenario, we have an activity and the details of the activity, and this is the parent table. And then we have the learner table, which has details of the learner, and the activity that the learner can select is obviously dependent on the options that are available from the activity table. That is why activity name is a foreign field. So in this case, if we were going to delete from the child table, it would be okay because there is nothing in the learner table that is affecting the activity table. There's nothing that is it obviously gets the value from the activity, but it's not affecting anything in the activity. The activity is completely independent of the learner. The learner is dependent on the activity. So if we delete a learner, then it's okay. Then we'll just delete that record and that's fine. That's like you would have done last year. The problem comes when we want to delete an activity. And because there is data in the learner table that is dependent on the activity table, that becomes a problem. Because if I delete, for example, an activity called snorkeling, then that will be removed from the activity table, and then you've got to ask yourself, well, there might be learners who have signed up for snorkeling, and now your data is inconsistent or the integrity is gone because now it has activities listed which do not exist in the other tables. So the normal process that we go around this is when we delete an activity or something from the parent table, we've actually got to delete all the records which have that activity, which are linked to that activity in the learner table. So that's what we're going to do. When we delete an activity, we will then delete all the fields, all the records in the learner table that are associated with that activity. Just things to remember that we need to always confirm the deletion of records in the child table. We're going to make sure that they are aware that we are deleting stuff from the other table, because it's always good to give feedback to your user. Provide feedback, especially when it comes to deleting, because you can't undo a delete unless you pre-code some sort of way to prevent that. It's very difficult to undo a delete. So please make sure you give adequate feedback or give them an option to stop the delete before it actually happens, in case they don't want it to happen. Looking at our example for today, here we've got our databases. We have an activity DB grid, and basically what we want to do is when I select an activity, say archery, and I click the delete activity button, then it will delete the activity from the activity table, but it will also delete any records that are associated with archery, like those ones over there. So that's what we're going to be doing. Now, just to remind ourselves, we've got our form over here. We've also got a module with the connection to the database, with the two tables and two sources which connect to the different tables in that database, our activity and learner table. And we are basically going to be interacting with this. And this is our DM excursion data module, which has, if you go to the code, has been added at the top so we can interact with it. So let's go to the button that we're going to work on. We're going to work on the delete activity button. So remind yourself, they will click on an activity, click on delete, and it will hopefully go through the process of deleting the records that are under that activity and then that activity. So let's go. So because I'm dealing with that DM module, that module for excursion, I'm going to use a with, because that's going to make my life a lot easier when it comes to writing the code and so on. So let me just do that. So I'm going to put in end of with, just so that I know what that end's coming from. So I'm going to use a with DM excursion, and that is obviously to make my life easier so I don't have to write DM excursion every single time. I'll put my end in before I put my begin, so let me put my begin there. So everything that happens between this begin and end has to predominantly deal with that data module. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to do a filter on the learner table so that we can just have the fields or the learner records that are under that activity that's been selected. So I'm going to go to the learner table dot filtered, and I'm going to set it to false. and then I'm going to set a filter to that learner table, and basically want to only display the activity names, so the activity name, which are the same as the one that was selected in the activity table. Okay, so let's make sure I've spelled that right. TBL activity, there we go. And that also has an activity name. So whatever is selected in the activity name DB grid, it will then do a filter on this table for those that fall under that activity. Now, just a reminder, when we do a filter and we do dealing with strings, when we refer to Delphi text like that, it's a good idea to put it in quoted string, because otherwise it will give an error. Because we can't put in the double quotes or single quotes because it conflicts with Delphi's single quotes. And then we're going to say tbl learner.filtered is equal to true, so we can apply the filter. There we go. Let's just test it to see that it's actually doing the filter. There are no errors, which is good. So I select archery and it press delete, and oh, there's a problem there. Activity name not found. Now what have I done wrong? I've probably spelt activity name incorrectly. So I'm just going to reset that. There we go. That's a little mistake on my part. Activity name, that should also probably be activity name. Activity, hopefully I've spelled it right now. Let's see, please work this time. Archery, there we go. Only the archery ones are displayed. Now I've already created a integer value which I'm going to use to store how many records are in this filter. And to do that, obviously we go to the learner.record count, which will only count those that are being displayed, but that's because of the filter will only be the ones with that activity. And now I need to make sure I give feedback. Before the user deletes everything, I should maybe ask them, are you sure you want to delete all these records from the learner table as well as the activity? So I'm going to write a little message here. I'm going to use a message DLG. And the first part of the message DLG is some sort of message that we want to display. Okay, do you want to delete this activity along with all, and then we can tell them how many records they are influencing, which is an integer, so I must convert it from an int to a string. Num, do you want to delete all these records? Okay, you obviously give a nice meaningful message. After that, we need to say what type of message this is. So I'm going to say empty. It can either be a warning or confirmation. I think we're warning the user, so I'm going to select a warning. To make space, I'm just going to put this on a new line quickly. Oh, why is it not going to a new line? There we go. Warning. And then our next parameter will be what buttons do I want? Well, if I have this message pop up, I'm probably going to want either an OK or a cancel button. So I want the OK button and the cancel button. And then after that, I'll just put a 0 and close. Now, that's what the message will pop up. Now, if I display just that, it would just be a simple message that pops up. But I want to check which one are they selecting. Are they selecting OK button or the cancel? So if they select the OK button, so I type equals MROK. If that is true, then begin end. Then this over here will be when the user wants to delete everything. Okay, because that's what they've decided. They've selected OK. They agree with it. But if they don't, then I'm going to put an else here and take away that semicolon. Else, and this else is going to be when they do not want to delete everything. So in other words, they cancel it. If they're going to cancel it, I'm just going to show a message saying nothing was done, just to make them feel better about themselves. Nothing was deleted. Got to assure our users, which are very sensitive. They need comforting. So if they select cancel, then it will do the else part and show nothing was deleted. But if they did select yes, we did want to delete something, then our process that we're going to go through here is we are first going to delete all the records from the learner table. And so we have already got a filter, so we need to go through each and every one. So I'm going to start with the very first one and go to tbl learner.first. And then I need to go through the whole list of records that are being displayed there. So we're going to use a while not tbl learner.end of file. You should remember this from your traversing a database. And I'm going to put a begin end here so that I know, in case I do many things, end of while. Let me just put my note here, end of if as well, just to be consistent. Okay, there we go. So we're going to go while not end of file, so we can go through each and every one. Remember, it's still got the filter applied, so it's only going to be deleting those that are being displayed there in the filter. And I'm just going to go tbl learner.delete. Now, a little side note, I'm going to write it here. Do not, in capital, use tbl learner.next, because the moment you delete something, the pointer will automatically move to the next record. If I put a next in here, it will start skipping records, so we won't be deleting everything. So do not use tbl next. I know you would normally think about using that, but in this case you don't have to. Now that should delete all the learner records. Now we have to do that first before we delete the activity. And before we actually go to the activity, I actually want to just take this filter off. That's not how you spell learner. There we go. Learner.filtered equals false. So we've deleted all the records that are associated with that activity. And then we delete them all, and then we take the filter off so we can see the rest of the activities. And now that we've done that, we can say tbl activity. Well, the one that you've selected must also go. So we will delete you so that you can be gone. And that should be it. Let's have a test to see if it works. So there we go. It's no errors so far. So let's select something like fencing, and I delete an activity. There we can see all the fencing activities. Do we want to delete? Let's say no. So we're going to cancel. Nothing was deleted. Okay, so now if I select something else, let's say I select kayak ride and I go delete activity. There are all the kayak rides. There are 12 of them. Do I want to delete? Yes, I want to delete them. Go OK. And there we go. Now if you can see, kayak riding is gone from our activity list. And if we look here, I don't see any kayaks here either. So therefore, it deleted all the learners with that activity, that had registered that activity, as well as the activity itself. Just a reminder, that is mainly because that table's relationship, if I double click on it here, you'll see that there is no cascade delete. Cascade delete means if you delete a record, it will delete any record associated with it. So because we got no cascade delete, we had to do it that way. If by some chance I did say cascade delete, then you would have to change the following in your program. The only difference is you wouldn't need to go through the entire learner field. You could just delete the activity and it would do the rest for you automatically, because you've specified that if you delete an activity, it will cascade delete any activity associated with it. So if you've got a cascade delete selected, you do not need to worry about this part really. There we go, that part. But you can still do the rest of it. So in summary, remember, when you're deleting from the parent table, first check what fields are being affected or records are being affected in the child table, warn the user, give them feedback, and if they are okay with deleting everything and doing the cascade delete, whether you do it via the database or whether you do it via code, make sure that you give feedback so that they can undo or stop a delete before they do it, just in case they don't want to delete anything. For more videos on the grade 12 IT CAP syllabus, please go to our YouTube channel where you can find videos on objects as well as more linked database stuff, and subscribe, leave comments, and follow us on Twitter so that we can keep you updated whenever we upload a new video. The examples from today's video come from the grade 12 Delphi e-notes that were created by Study Opportunities. The e-notes are available for use in 2014. A textbook for the IT grade 12 CAP syllabus will be available in 2015. If your teacher is interested in these details or these textbooks, just tell them to go to the website listed over there.